good, boy?
No.
I don't think you can be good. Are we ever going to get over this?
Yes and no. That's the thing. It's tough. It's a lot of work. Like, it's a lot of work that people don't see. Like, it just ain't people on the court.
Here's my thing, right? And we all got these losses that stick with us. As Dolphin fans, Stojanovic in 94. That's never leaving us. Mm-mm. For me, UK-Wisconsin 2015 Final Four.
That was cheating.
We was going to get... Well, this one was too in Spain. But anyway, we were going to get the perfect season. All that got derailed by Wisconsin. That's never leaving me, no matter what. Mm-mm. This loss, us coming one win away from making the Olympics, that's staying with me forever. Even if we make it 2028, 2032, any other time moving forward, I feel like I'm never going to forget this one. That's how much it hurt.
Sometimes what people say is you need those growing pains to know what it is to be right there at the top of the step. We are right there. Right there. A couple players away, maybe. Just a couple shots away. It's not like we were out the game. Number 2 in the world. Like this. Here's the sad thing about it, right? The only way I knew how to cope after the game was to just try to do work.
Oh, okay. I thought you was going to say something else.
No. I
was going to say keep it PG.
No.
Let me officially welcome the people first before we go there. Welcome to the 10th Year Seniors Podcast Network. This is the Accredited. This is our postmortem, our sad, borderline depressed recap of the entire journey of Bahamas basketball in the 2024. I guess you would say the 2024 international season because...
It's summer window.
It comes to an end, and it came to such a screeching halt. Like, we had such momentum, we had such drive. This was the first time the country ever was this locked into basketball. But before we talk about the macro issues, I want to take us back to last Sunday, take us back to what is now that horrible day. I watched it at the office. Terrible experience, by the way. Shout out to Megan for being horrible. But I want you to take us in the locker room, the vibe around the team, because I think very quickly people shifted to trying to think of the positive overtones of moving forward and what this is going to mean for Bahamas basketball. What's the next step? Did that come from the players in the locker room? Because there's often a disconnect between people just talking online and people that actually have to go through it. Take us into the locker room and that vibe when it was all done.
When it was all done, let's put it this way.
Shit, that was it right there.
Yeah, that's it. When it was done, it's like the dream is over. Like, you can say what you want to say when you're going on this run. It's a magical run. It's always going to be something. We're doing something that no one in basketball in this country has done. And I mean, when I say we, you got to look at the players and you got to look at the staff and you got to look at the federation. It's a bigger picture than just saying, we got these 12 players who are playing on the court. We have this coaching staff who comes in over the summer. Like, that's what people got to realize. It's a lot of work going into it. So, literally, all I know is that the game was over, and, I'm still doing work as opposed to just being like, yeah, I won't be sad. And that's why I was trying to tell you, the only way I could cope is to try to do the work. Because if not, it's going to be crazy. So, they didn't block off anything. They're supposed to walk to the mix zone. No one walked to the mix zone. FIBA's coming to me. Oh, no. And I'm like, y'all ain't blocked the court off. This is the last game of whatever. Like, you can't expect these people to be robots and to go through, oh, well, this is like they're humans. Like, that's what it is. They're humans. Then they want to get Buddy out in the flash interview. They get Buddy in the flash interview.
They got exactly what they was looking for.
And it was just like, and Buddy was right. Like, you feel like you were cheated to a point. Because it's like, you can't have you always look at the stat sheet at the end. 23 free throws to 10. They had 10 more free throws made. Our free throws came in the last half of the fourth quarter pretty much that we were getting to the line. So it's like, there's a big discrepancy of how you think a game should be called.
So, let's put the disclaimer on it, right? Yeah, you can watch the game, and
these are my personal opinions.
There are all of it. This is 10YS shit. You don't have on your Federation executive hat right now. There are very real basketball reasons why we lost. You can point to that. Like, we're not sitting here crying. This is not the lament of the loser. At the same time, you can't ignore what is right in front of your face if you watch that game. You can't ignore the fact that it was, and even the announcers calling the game, there was so many times. I mean, obviously you couldn't hear this because you were in the arena.
Yeah.
So many times it was fouls called on the Bahamas where they did that back and forth. I don't know about that one. Or calling this game much more closely than we thought they'd call a championship. Or calling this game closer
One-sided.
calling this game closer than we see FIBA games called, because the reputation is FIBA games aren't called that close.
No, and the reputation is FIBA games are more physical. It was, if you call the game straight down the middle, no one's going to care. You can't say that because Eric getting hit on his arm, they don't want to call it. But you go down the court, it's a momentum changer. Everything is momentum
And all
changing.
the Spanish players are doing this.
Yeah, no, they were all flopping. Like, trust me, I'm Hispanic. I know how they go with soccer.
Bring the hate.
But
Let the hate
The
move
problem
through you.
is like whenever a play would happen and they would get touched, they're flailing. And throughout the tournament, they were pretty good with calling flop calls. They call against Finland. They call against Poland. It's one of those things. But for some reason now you get to Spain, absolutely nothing's getting called.
Look, man. Look. We know having to beat Spain in Spain is tough. Mm-hmm. Having to beat in Spain is tough, not just because of the team, but because of the atmosphere. And you talked about the players being human. Referees are human too. I always
FIBA
believe.
referees are different, and I'm gonna. I was discussing this with someone the other day. I said you could watch an NBA game and you could watch other games, and you feel referees are never going to say they're wrong. We know that, but referees will admit to being wrong by letting some things slide.
Makeup calls.
Yeah, these referees seem to double down on what they wanted, like because the second buddy would go up to them or someone would complain, it's just like, oh, I'm gonna make sure I call another foul on you. Like that's just how it is. That's what it feels like. And I mean, I've been to FIBA basketball a lot. Like a FIBA referee is never wrong, and a FIBA referee will never even look at a thing and say, oh, it's wrong. Because like I said, there's times they could look back at tape. I wish they had a 2-minute report or a 4-minute report or whatever report of the game is, because I got to see how these referees are graded sometimes, because it's like it cannot be so one-sided. Granted, that's only one aspect of the game. We make a couple shots.
Yeah,
We're in it.
that's why I gave the disclaimer. I understand the basketball reasons why we lost.
But that's
You
the
gotta
first
live
thing
with it.
people are going to look at.
Yeah, it's facts though. So obviously the run came to an end, but I want to think of this in terms of larger terms. What do you think is the biggest storyline emerging out of this for Bahamas basketball? Is it the fact that we have so much to look forward to, one particular player? Where do you go with this? I have an idea. I want to know what you think, being on the inside.
See, here's my thing, and this is being a Dolphins fan for so long. The Dan Marino effect. You can't always say you're going to be there because of young talent.
You cannot assume that you
and-
got a ticket right back.
It's
You
because
cannot.
we always think of it in that, because basketball is a funny sport. The way I look at it is, and like I say, there are things said in the locker room that you keep more private for what it is, but
No, yeah, you keep all of that stuff.
But no, one of the things that was said and out was Buddy came out, and Buddy acknowledged what this journey is, and Buddy called out pretty much everyone and was able to put a positive on everyone. There was like nothing negative. We know the game was done, but my biggest take was when Buddy was like, Franco, Donnie, VJ, Dayton, y'all belong here, and you got to know you belong here because you're the future of Bahamas basketball. So it's already the veterans that we have are looking at this younger generation, knowing that they are going to be propelled. Like Buddy knows, if everyone projects to how they're supposed to project, he is now going to be on a team that is going to be deeper, stronger than ever before.
Which is what we need, because going into it, my biggest concern wasn't that. Obviously, we were top heavy. If you looked at it, player for player, we had the better talent at the top of the roster.
Short rotation though.
But I know Spain had us in terms of depth, and that's kind of how that one played out. So yeah, the positive spin on it moving forward with Bahamas basketball, that was it for me, right? And I think we announced that we're here. Like we announced that we belong in these conversations. It's not a fluke kind of thing.
No, the ranking system is not indicative of what we are as a basketball country, because the whole problem we have is we play in November and February. So we can't put our full roster together. Granted, we're getting stronger as we progress, but at the same time, it's like, think about it. You're going to have VJ Edgecombe in the league next year. Donnie Freeman right now is projected. He didn't get a lot of minutes, but he's projected to be a first-round pick next year.
Yeah.
AJ Storr is projected to be a pick as well, right? We have so much young play. Dayton, Garvin, Franco's out, Sammy's out. That's 7 players right there that could make an impact in summer windows. Sammy, Franco, and the other windows. But it's like there needs to be a change of how these windows are played because everything is catered to the larger countries.
Right.
That's the problem.
The countries that have more depth.
Yeah.
There's no way
millions of people.
There's no way we are going to be able to have that. We can have great talent at the top, but we're not going to be able to match the depth to be able to compete in these other windows when we don't have our NBA guys.
You got to think about it. A lot of these countries have professional leagues. We don't. So it's not even like we could homegrown grow people here. It's like, remember, I mean, we spoke about this earlier. The objective is to go to the States, go play D1 ball. We talked about with Renaldo, how he was the exception of getting out of high school playing pro. So now all of a sudden, is there going to be something where you could look at a Jamaica, you could look at a Haiti, you could look at these countries that have ties to other players like, you know, Barbados, whatever it is. Are they going to now say, hey, this was fun. Let's see how we can get these smaller countries. Like, are we going to have more summer windows now? Instead of 2, maybe 4, eliminate a November and February window where you know you could say, hey, this summer we might be able to pull, the Bahamas could pull the 4 NBA players at one time to make noise to be able to help qualify for a World Cup. Or are we going to stick to the status quo where we're going to be struggling to make the World Cup? And if we make the World Cup, we make the noise. Like, they got to pick their poison of how it's going to be because it's costly. We don't have money like that. Corporate Bahamas doesn't really step in.
Oh, it's
like that.
It's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that
for us to get through later. But I wanna go back to the journey, not just the OQT, but I want to go back to the journey of this entire thing, beginning at training camp, because I mean, this is one aspect of what people saw. Like you said, this goes so much deeper than this. But even still, this 3-week journey that you guys went on, starting in Houston at training,
it was long.
starting at training camp in Houston, then heading to Greece for the friendlies, and then finally getting to Spain. What did they play? 6 games? How close did you see this team bond? Because I think this is probably the longest we've seen a Team Bahamas be together for that extended period of time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the good thing was a lot of these players were there from Argentina last year. A lot of these players know each other because of the November and the February windows. So it's not like it was anything out the ordinary where you're pulling in people, even with Isaiah Mobley, Clay coming to the camp. Everyone knew what the goal was and everyone was connected. Everyone was there to play ball. Let's just put it that way. Off the court, it's always going to be fun. Like, you really have to think about what we do as Bahamians. We're going to stick together. We're going to have fun. We're going to make sure that everyone's straight, that type of stuff. So it's just like, it's
that phrase did some heavy lifting just now.
It's just everyone, even going from the staff to the players, everyone was on the same page and knew what we were doing. We had the training camp in Houston. Granted, it was a bunch of people coming trying to get into the training camp. Like, when people catch word, hey, you know, Bahamas is here. And it's not just Bahamas is here.
It's a big Bahamian population in Houston.
But it's also like, then, you know, we had Swish Cultures there. Athletic was there. You know, people were out there trying to get their content. But what the difference between them and us is we know what the journey was. Like, some people were asking me, oh, I travel with the team for media. And it's like, no, I'm on the executive board for Basketball Federation. I do administration work. And people are like, oh, you do all of that? It's like, yeah. You got to do more than one role when you're on Bahamas basketball. If your money ain't in it, then you ain't a part of Bahamas basketball. That's just the crazy thing about it. But Houston was just an accumulation of all the years before.
And it's a lot of different factors behind it, because on top of everything that we had going on, you had the added attention on the outside because everyone heard Clay was going to be there. And then you saw Isaiah Mobley was there.
Yeah.
So that kind of amplified things.
The Clay thing was, I know, like I said, rumors were always coming out because rumors are rumors.
First of all, we've been on the Get Clay to Play train since 2014.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Y'all can look it up. That was a hashtag that we was using. But we know.
you can't always say someone's going to show up, right? The objective was he was showing up. So practice came, and then, yeah, Clay showed up. Great, because you cannot pay for that publicity.
No.
You cannot pay for that. It's like, I took a couple photos. I was sending stuff back, and this is how crazy it's like. I'm like, I gotta hold back some of these photos because I know the second one of these get posted, it's just gonna go like wildfire, like the whole thing. Like if every major news outlet picked it up,
And that's what happened.
yeah. And that I mean, see, people gotta realize when you post something, you're just not posting because it's like, oh, it's cool. You know what's gonna end up happening with XYZ post.
Yeah, for sure.
But that helps start bringing the buzz to Bahamas basketball for the whole trip because it's just like Clay is there, Eric's there,
Everyone
Aiden's
started to follow. And we knew what the final 12 was going to look like, but that had nothing to do. Like you said, that's
No.
publicity you can't pay for. All of a sudden, everybody's focus is on Bahamas basketball. And that's why I said, to me, the biggest story emerging out of Spain is that, hey, we here. Like, we reach.
Yeah.
This is what it is. And because of that young talent, because we finally treated this like big business, finally, that is why we're here. That is why I think this thing is going to continue to grow. But you mentioned something very important. You know, one of my favorite things is always off the court stories, which I want to give you a second to think about that. But is there a personality on this team, or whether it was in camp, that the general public may know nothing about? Doesn't even have one to be one of the stars. A personality that we'd kind of fall in love with, a personality that people would find entertaining, that you would want to follow, someone that's that off the court kind of person, somebody that's that leader who doesn't really have to be a leader. Do we have one of those?
I mean, when you look at the training camp, and it's just, I feel like this was all the VJ Edgecombe show. Like, from practice, because when he was practicing, it was just a different level. Like, I'll never forget, he said something to DeAndre, and DeAndre looks, and he's just like, that touched my soul. And I mean, it was smack talk, like, and he was like, VJ just did not back down.
Because you ain't expecting an 18-year-old to say that.
Yeah, well, DeAndre said that sounded like me when I was 18, you know? Like, that's what brought him back to, like, oh, damn, like, no, this guy is the truth. And I know that VJ and DeAndre, like, connected really, really well on that trip. Like,
Because he already had that connection with Buddy.
yeah, but everyone knows that he's the next one. Like I say, Travis is one. Travis didn't do a lot of training camp because he was coming off his injury.
Which is crazy. I don't think a lot of people knew
Yeah.
that, but I didn't even know he was going to be available, much less start, much less play small ball 4 and do it really well and
Yeah.
be the top perimeter defender on the team. People do not know how important he is to this program.
He is. And like off the court, he's fun. On the court, he's a vocal leader. But like I said, you got to hold some of these people out just based on the fact of you wanted to let that injury heal. Like he was cleared to play, but you're still precautious of saying, let's just go that extra 2 weeks because he didn't play in any of the
I
friendlies.
mean, perhaps if we had more depth in the front court.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been great. But it is what it is at that point. But I mean, like I said, the team always went out, always had the team dinners. You know, it was something where you were always around the team.
How cognizant were they on the support that they were getting from back home? The fact that everything was blowing up.
Oh, they knew that. And one of the biggest things, and this is what I have to I always tell people this, and some people are going to disagree. A lot of people are going to disagree. A lot of people won't agree. I keep telling people, basketball is the most popular sport in the Bahamas. And this absolutely proved it. And track and field is the most successful sport in the Bahamas. Like, that's what people need to understand. It's not taking anything away from track and field, but track and field does not garner this attention like how trying to qualify for the Olympics was.
You know what's the easy measurement for it, though? You ride around Nassau, ride around Grand Bahama, and see how much basketball courts you just see any place, right? You could drive in any neighborhood and you'd see people just be playing pickup games. We have rec league basketball, several rec league basketballs, right? Ain't nobody running track recreationally.
But it's not that though.
Like, but that's a part of it. That's why it's so popular. You could go to any office in this country. People don't literally hang around water coolers, but in any one of your WhatsApp groups, you were going to have basketball conversations. It ain't gonna be the same. Because I mean,
But
we
you
are also
realize-
in a very Americanized society. The NBA is something that we love. We love college basketball.
Yeah.
So we are going to love basketball here. That's just what it is.
Because the biggest thing with that is, and I keep saying, everyone's going to tune into the Olympic final. The races before, people are like, But the thing about this tournament, every game counted.
Everything.
Every game counted. Like, you can't lose a game and be like, oh, whatever. But I mean, the buzz was coming from when we played Montenegro. Like, people got to realize, like, and I keep telling people where I'd be blown away from it. I've never been to Europe for basketball with the Bahamas. We got invited to go to a tournament in Europe to play 2 top 20 teams. Like, people just need to understand.
It's all regional.
of-
They don't.
yeah.
They don't know,
They don't
John.
know.
I wanted to save this part for the end. They do not know, and that's why I had to share that memory from 2014. All we wanted to do was beat
CV.
BVI.
Yeah.
All we wanted to do was beat
USVI.
USVI.
That's it.
Our biggest villain was Walter Hodge. We couldn't beat
He
Walter
good, though.
Hodge for
shout
nothing.
out to Walter Hodge.
Walter Hodge was our arch nemesis. Like, when you think about the fact that that's all we wanted, we just wanted to come out in this region. We just wanted Central Basket to be the thing where we made some noise. We wasn't even thinking about winning Central Basket. It was just hopefully we could be one of them top 4 or 5 teams. And now, like you say, we move out of the region and we play in top 20 ranked
European teams.
in
We've
Europe.
never played European teams. Think about this. Every team we
Much
played.
less get 2 wins against them.
Yeah. 2 top 20 wins. And then you lose to 8 to number 2. Yeah. Like, everyone knew that
Hernan Gomez.
those exhibition games didn't mean much.
Nah, we wasn't watching
Like,
that.
we were just there. It's almost like you're on a foreign tour. You're getting those practices in. You're making sure everything's getting straight. And
I was watching that, and I know our mindset was the same. Everybody just come out of this healthy.
yeah.
Let's just see what it looks like. This is fun. We happy to just see all together.
100%.
Everybody come out of this healthy because this ain't the real thing.
But that's where VJ coming out party.
That's where you saw it.
Yeah, that's where you saw it.
Yeah, 'cause you 18 and go run up and down.
Yeah, Vucevic gets dunked off, and everyone's just. It's crazy because people got to realize this. Keno played against Giannis.
Yeah.
Keno started against Giannis. Like, if you told Keno at 39 years old, you're gonna play against Giannis, what you think about that? He wouldn't believe you, right? But when I was at the game and VJ did something, I looked at Giannis because Giannis was on the bench at that time, and Giannis like, oh man, every single pro
Milwaukee.
had that look with VJ. When VJ dunked your boy off in was it Finland?
Yeah.
The whole stadium buzzing. It's just incredible how we were the underdogs. We were the darling story. We just couldn't finish the story.
People love underdog stories to a point, because I'll tell you where they stop loving that underdog story: when you go to beat Spain.
Yeah.
And then all those people in Spain was like, whoa. Cute story got to be done. We still need to go to the Olympics. But, okay, you mentioned a lot of... The only thing we can do right now, and this is what happens when you lose, right? You gotta try and you gotta try and massage that wound a bit. You gotta try and get over things. So we've been putting a lot of positive spin on where Bahamas basketball is going moving forward. So we don't have a choice but look towards LA 2028. So my thing is, I need people to keep the same energy that they have now, and you gotta recognize that when you start paying attention is not the time when this stuff begins to matter. Qualification for LA 2028 has already begun.
Yep.
Like, when we played the America qualifiers in
That's the first step
in the
towards
February window,
Yep.
it started already.
Yeah, because what people don't realize is, all right, so these Olympic qualifiers had nothing to do with AmeriCup. Now, AmeriCup is you make the AmeriCup, you automatically qualify for the World Cup qualifiers.
Stages.
Yeah, if you don't, then you go to pre-qualifiers for the World Cup. So you're not starting from the bottom, but you have to have a starting point win to get into the World Cup qualifiers. The best case scenario is we make AmeriCup, we go into the World Cup qualifiers. Now, what I keep telling people, and I told this to Buddy, and I'm trying to tell this to all the players, if we make AmeriCup, it's in Nicaragua, we need to field the strongest team we could field. And I don't mean that in a sense to saying it's as important as a Olympics as people would do it, but it's important because this is a regional cup. If you go and you play and you beat Canada and USA and win a gold medal, you know what we tell them? We's the best.
But this is my thing. I think for us, We have to view each one of these like that because we don't have the luxury.
We don't have the success in basketball to be like, this is how you build the success. You make AmeriCups. You medal in these things. You let people know, like, yes, the world is on notice. The world knows that when Bahamas comes to play in the summer, because that's what it is, in the summer, they have a great team. They have a team that arguably we are a top 20 team in the world. Arguably.
Yeah.
In the summer.
I mean, I don't think that's
No.
That's not a hot take
No,
or anything.
but
We were right there.
That's in the summer.
Yeah.
Now, outside the summer, we're closer to 50.
Yeah, because, and I feel like everybody, and Chris DeMarco has spoken to this too, and I think all of you guys have said it in the press conferences, when you play in these other ones where the light is not shining as bright, one of the most difficult things is actually just assembling that talent and putting that together. And I know how stressful that has been to you, but I want to stay on this LA 2028 tangent while we're here. So you talked about the youth movement. So let's think about this in very real terms. In 2028, you will have what? VJ will be 22, 21, 22. Donnie's going to be the same age. AJ Stores be like a year or two older than them. You got Dayton, who'll just be a year or two maybe out of college at that point.
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah, and then you got Frederick King right now in Creighton entering his junior year, I think.
Yep.
Frederick King. You got Sammy, who just got done with college. So you have a very
Franco too.
You got Sammy and Franco in the same boat. Just finished college, have international playing experience. You have a very young core, and something I want us to also pay attention to, this group of under 17s that we have, the team that Jay is coaching, because there's going to be a point where one or two of those players, think about it, at that point, they're 20. One or two of those players could be a next VJ in that bunch.
Yep.
You never know. So that's something we have to look forward to with this youth movement.
Yeah, no, in the youth, and then like I said, it's always finding the talent, like finding the VJs, finding the Donnies, because Donnie was born in Freeport. Donnie grew up in. It was funny.
And nobody knew this until a few months ago that we just had a McDonald's.
No, we knew this years ago.
The general public.
Oh, the general public.
It's y'all job. Y'all have to know.
Yeah,
but the general public, I think most Bahamians didn't know that until the McDonald's All-American game.
Yeah. So the thing with, apparently, like, we're looking at this kid, because you say next naturalized guy. We have to see if he's naturalized or not. But Isaiah Dennis, apparently he has Bahamian roots. He's a top 100 recruit now, 6'5" point guard. What do we need? Point guard. So that's the thing. We have to keep looking for this talent to be able to say, hey, how can we build this program? Because let's be real. VJ would never have this opportunity with USA basketball. No. Donnie would never have this opportunity with USA basketball.
Well, VJ might, because he's better than Cooper Flag.
Yeah, but no, at 18, come on, Dame Lillard made the Olympic team when he was 30.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're never going to.
This is Steph's first.
Yeah, exactly.
The greatest shooter of all time.
You're never going to have these opportunities. And that's what people got to realize. And that's one thing you have to keep telling the youth, especially the Donnie, who didn't get a lot of playing time. Like, Donnie is used to playing.
Yeah.
Donnie is used to being the guy on these teams.
The star.
And he comes here, and it's just like, you got to let him know, like, yo, you're the future. Like, don't mind you're not playing this, because even when Buddy came off the bench.
Y'all gotta say it in Bahamian terms for him, even though he may not know as much. More time.
Yeah, no, he know, because it's funny, because the funny story with Donnie was, I said, but stop lotioning. They still use that word? Because he went, I was just
tell him that's a staple. That's never leaving. What are you talking about?
Yeah, because he went to St. Mary's Star.
Yeah.
In Freeport. That's where he went to school when he was in Freeport. But no, the thing is, it's like, we have the young talent that's going to come there. Donnie is a staple. Donnie in the next 3 years is going to be a completely different player.
Absolutely.
He's going to be a star. And
then that is important, but also the reason we're here is because of the NBA guys. We captured lightning in the bottle. At this point, Buddy would be where Eric is now. I think Buddy's 31 now.
He'll be 34.
So he'd be 34, 35 at that point. DeAndre would be
in his prime.
If Eric Gordon decides to run it back, we don't know. He may have some Rudy Fernandez in him where he could still be that. Or if not, then we got the question mark is, where's the next naturalized guy gonna come from? It could be Dennis, or it could be the sixth man of the year in Minnesota who is not playing for Team USA.
He wouldn't be naturalized.
Oh yes, that's right.
Because he has a passport.
He's not
so he's not even in that category.
I just wanted you to say that.
Yeah, like he's not in that category.
So what could be the possible reason for somebody who wins Sixth Man of the Year in the NBA to have this opportunity to make the Olympics playing with this group of players to just brush it aside? Seems kind of odd.
No, I mean, at the end of the day,
It does.
you really got to think about where these athletes come from. I mean, he had a long playoff run. He just wasn't. Hey, there's other ones who just didn't show up, but at the end of the day, it's just like you got to respect the decisions of
You
what,
do.
of
But
what
we
it
heard.
is.
We heard.
But
So,
here's the thing, like, you know, we could get like a diagram and start putting things.
I agree.
So here's the crazy thing, Nas and Kyrie are like best friends, right?
Who's Kyrie with? His shoe
Anta.
company now.
Nas is trying to get a deal.
Now, you know what would help you get that deal? You know who has Anta deals?
Kyrie
And who else?
sponsors the team, Clay and Anta. So maybe it looks in the possibility of saying, hey,
I take back everything I said, Nasri.
it's like you gotta look at the long run. If we have the Anta sponsorship,
Networking.
everything could line up to a
Networking.
point where it'd be like, hey, you could be a face of Bahamas basketball through a company that you may potentially be sponsored with.
Well, one of them.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's the hope. That's best case scenario. But you never know with these shoe companies because they just might, Nike might come and say, hey, let's get you on board.
And obviously,
But this is me thinking outside the box.
No, but we have to
Yeah.
but that's the benefit, and this is the residual benefits of when you get to this point, is because now it's become the cool thing to do, not just for Bahamian kids, but everybody's watching this. So if you had some kind of Bahamian heritage, the fact that Isaiah Mobley was in camp, I mean, obviously you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know his brother is one of the best young bigs in the NBA. Like, I mean,
Someone we ain't gonna get. But hey,
that's fine. That's fine. But we can get this one.
yeah, no, for sure. He's gonna be on board. So that's something that we're working on right now. We're trying to get all the documents straight so we could get that done because he wants to play. Like
Clearly,
Isaiah,
you don't go to training camp if you don't
Isaiah
want to
is so
play.
down to earth and cool, and he wants to play. So it's definitely something where we just the turnaround time to get some of these paperwork just wasn't. It's just not feasible.
We didn't beat it in the window.
Yeah.
I had some.
So we
I
just
heard.
we just have to get everything straight, put it in, and then let the process go through, and then that's it. But I feel like I'm gonna take at least a month off of trying to do any paperwork for basketball.
I feel like you need to take a month off from anything.
Yeah, I'm taking a month off.
John is finally alive. Y'all want to know why we didn't do this podcast right away?
I was
Because
dying.
it took John a week. It took John a week.
3 days to get back to normal.
Probably still ain't back to normal, but he worked his ass off. So
Pain and suffering.
dog. Anyway, so like I want to talk about for this last segment, I want to talk about the macro issues in this, talk about this at a bigger level, because I mean, well, for me personally, I think when the people around you are so connected to something, you can't help but, yeah, I'm a huge Bahamas basketball fan, but the fact that you're so connected into it, the gravity of that kind of pulls you into it more. I feel like it's kind of the same way with me in UK basketball, whether people care or not, because I go so over the top with it, they gotta pay attention, and I feel like that's what happened with the entire country. My thing is, I need us to keep the same energy because international basketball does not stop. Like this,
And
this
it just
was
doesn't
cool.
stop with senior men. It's the whole program.
This was cool. This was great. But there's so much more to it. And if we want to see, I'm glad you said that, because if we want to see more of this local talent get to the point where this happens, you got to pay attention to what's happening with these U17s this summer when they travel.
Here's the crazy thing about, like, just go back to COVID days of how messed up COVID actually messed up a program. We qualified for the Americas for the first time, like outright. Got a bronze medal with Dayton, Romad, that team, right?
Yeah.
AJ would have been on that other team, right? A VJ potentially would have been on that because he's just that good. But there was going to be a window where you would have had a Donnie, a Frederick, a VJ, Isaiah Sutherland. A lot of people don't know about that kid.
And at this point, all of them would have been playing under 18.
All of them would have been playing on the 16, on the 17. So you had 2 6'9" kids.
Yeah.
A VJ who's a star, and an AJ who's a star on one team, and a Donnie. I don't know about AJ. AJ might have been too old, but a Donnie.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you would have had people there sprinkled in with the other players we have. Like, there was opportunity for the Bahamas junior level to take off and just keep the momentum running. And COVID hurt a lot of. COVID just hurt development on the whole. Let's just put it that way. Because you could imagine having a VJ that young with a Frederick on the same team with Isaiah Sutherland and the Donnie Freeman. I mean, that team there alone would have enough talent to win, to get to a World Cup at the under 19 level.
And we like we said earlier, a big part of this even getting to this point and this happening is because Bahamas basketball was treated like big business. You can't nickel and dime this if you want to. You know what? If you nickel and dime it, you will have nickel and dime success.
Yeah.
You or me can be great at track and field, and we can travel to the States singularly and we can train, and that'll be fine. It don't work like that in team sports. For team sports, you need constant competition, you need cohesion, and you need massive funding.
And meanwhile,
we don't have any of that here.
You got to think about these trips, right? And this is a thing that people don't realize too. So Buddy brings his trainer on the trips, right? And he brings his physio, or however it is. Like, we have 2 physios. I know Portland send people, but it's like there's never a time.
Portland sent their head coach.
Yeah, there's never a time where it's like they're not accessible to all the players. So it's like if like Buddy and Franco train, like if you go up to Trey or whatever and say, hey, Trey, can you give me 30 minutes after this practice and go through something, like everyone is a part of the program. Like, that's what people don't realize. And yes, Buddy's bringing his people, but it's directly going into the other people. Like, some people can't afford that.
Yeah.
Buddy could afford to bring his trainers, but his trainers are going to say, hey, cool, I help this person. Oh, I help this person shoot. I'll look at the game. I'll cut film up or something to be able to see what he could do better. So it's like everyone does their part with Bahamas basketball. Like I said, it's funny. It ain't like USA basketball when the car sends a video. Oh, look at the John. Yeah. And then I had to go circle like 16 people to be like, yeah, that would be me.
Yeah, no, I told them they got 20.
Yeah. It's like, of course, USA basketball's taking a 747 to Dubai.
Like, they don't stay with anyone else.
No.
Are you kidding me? So, like, for us, for it to happen, and all of the announcers were saying it all throughout the tournament, like, it's crazy that you have this talent emerging from this country with just 400,000 people. And it really took us capturing lightning in a bottle when you think about it. Buddy had to become one of the greatest shooters of his generation. And I feel like a lot of this genesis started with him, where we saw where it could go because we had him. Mm-hmm. We knew what was happening when we saw we had a 7-footer that everyone wanted. So when DeAndre Ayton became the #1 prospect in high school basketball, I think that's when everyone's ears perked up like, Buddy's already there. We get this dude. Bahamas basketball got a real chance to be something so much more than what they were. And then, well, we knew for years Eric Gordon's lineage and him always wanting to play for. We was asking him that question to Jeff Rogers
8 years ago.
Yeah, years ago, before people really started to hone in on that. So the building blocks was there, but all of it almost got thrown away because of funding. Like, all of this feel good, all of this great story that we had nearly fell apart because we did not treat this thing like big business. And that's the #1 thing that holds, well, particularly team sports back in this country.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't have that.
Like, I'll say this, and let me just say it this way so people don't try to cut my head off.
You good, no?
The government does what they believe is in their best interest to fund programs. Like, I understand they got to fund a bunch of programs, but corporate Bahamas needs to step up to a point, because they almost feel like the problem with Bahamians is they feel like they're doing you a favor, right? Regardless of how much money you get from a yearly grant, because that yearly grant theoretically isn't made for one program.
That's not made for the senior men.
That's made for the whole federation to run, pretty much.
So like, if you have, and it's more than this, but let's say you got 4 teams traveling.
Yeah, 40 grand minimum per junior team. That's 80 grand right there. That's a subvention, not subvention, the grant gone.
Yeah.
But what people got to realize is, like, if you, like you say, you're trying to take this to the next level, and this is where the leverage could come through government, through different programs, where it could be like, hey, why don't we add a tax to the hotel like they do in the States, for example? add a 1% tax and say this is going to go towards the sports programs in the country. The amount of people who come here and stay in hotels, to add an extra 1%, which could equal $1 or whatever, and they say, oh, we have 5 million people come here. All right, so add $1 to every person that comes in. Find different ways instead of trying to tax us. Tax the people who come in here who theoretically could afford it to be able to help with the program. But just think of this. These windows cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in the summer. This ain't a cheap thing. Like, don't think, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I know people do what's in their best interest, but it's like corporate Bahamas love the success. They're going to talk about it. They're going to go into parliament.
Oh.
And they're going to talk about how great this is. They're going to make their posts of how proud they are.
Everybody made a graphic.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Everyone had a graphic ready
t-shirt,
with the team
a graphic,
picture.
everything.
We had all of that
Yeah,
shit.
but it's the thing is, let's not wait till we get to this point to be, oh, congratulations. Let's get the infrastructure put in place so this continues year after year after year.
So the next time that there's a possibility that Bahamas basketball will have to pull out of a window with 3, possibly 4 NBA players, we don't have to make a post saying, hey, this dream is done.
Yeah.
Because that was the biggest thing for us. We saw what was coming, and a lot of people saw it.
Yeah.
But when we heard that was about to be done, like,
everyone started freaking out. Like,
we were bugging out. Like, we cannot waste this opportunity because when is this going to happen again?
yeah, we don't, like I said, the Dan Marino thing, we don't know if this is going to happen again. This might be.
Look at the Thunder. Remember when they lost to the Heat and everyone was like, they could be back?
This might be it, but I know we're resilient people. I know that the players have committed to the program. And that's the biggest thing. The players have committed to the program, corporate Bahamas. So stop asking who the hell is on this damn team.
I feel like you're talking to someone.
I'm talking to them all because every single time, and this is just doing inside work.
Yeah.
Oh, who's on the team?
Why y'all need to know that?
I
It's
don't know.
Bahamas
Exactly.
basketball.
It's Bahamas basketball. If you're going to be a good corporate citizen who has a company that is willing to
Y'all should tell
sponsor
him
money,
LeBron.
Yeah, we might as well tell him LeBron's on the team. But it's like, it shouldn't matter who is on the team to help support the team because Dominic Bridgewater, Cantuan Smith, David Nesbitt, they play in February, November windows. They help get this team where it has to go.
So it's almost as if, are you supporting these players or are you supporting Bahamas
But
basketball?
are you supporting yourself? Because is it to the point where if these big players aren't here, it's not going to generate the buzz that I want for my company, XYZ? It's like we got to get that mindset out that it's their buddy, any NBA person is not playing in November and February.
You know, the crazy thing about it is the ones that they want are not the ones that need them.
No.
They're not the ones that need their support at all.
No, but it's just like when you go out with these players, people will try to buy them drinks. It's like, they don't need you to buy a drink.
No.
Buy a drink for Dominic.
I think
buy
they're
a
fine.
drink for...
Well, I mean,
you know what I'm
he's
saying?
Pro B now, so I think he's straight.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, buy a drink for Sammy. Buy a drink for one of these players who are not successful. Like, it's...
Or not as successful as them. Or not in the NBA.
Not in the
Don't
NBA.
have $1 million contracts.
Yeah, who ain't... You know, they just come out of college. It's just like, figure something out. But people got to stop this. Who is on this thing? Bahamas basketball is like you said earlier, is a journey. It's not a, hey, we're here in the summer, let's go. There's a 4-year journey to get to this point.
We didn't have this in the King Rice years. We were young then. We didn't have this in the Larry Smith years. We were nickel and diamond. I feel like it all changed. And it's so funny that it happened with us forming this. But I remember distinctly Larry Eustace when he was in charge of the program. And he had that training camp at Colorado State. And for me, that's when I was like, okay, now we're doing this the way it was supposed to be done. And to see the 10-year journey go from that to the point where we're at now, I understand the foundation of everything that was laid before. But for me, I earmark that as, okay, that's the beginning of us doing something completely different. That's the beginning of Bahamas basketball realizing, well, we have the potential to be more than this. We just actually have to do some industry best practices.
Magnum. Like, think about it. It was just Magnum.
Yeah.
Like, and then you had, you had the veterans still, the Keno Burrows, the J.R. Cadots. You had all those.
But he was the only one close to the NBA at the time.
Yeah, he was the only one but I mean, at that point in time, Buddy was getting college looks, Tum. So, I mean, you had all these people who were coming, especially Sunrise. Everyone at Sunrise, everyone's like, oh.
Well, Sunrise had 3 starters at the OQT.
Exactly.
Tum, Travis, and Buddy.
So it's one of those things, but I mean, it's just, I got there in 2016.
But hold on, just to put the pin in this, the fact that that team made it cool, that team gave you insight into what the program could do and what it should look like, what it could look like. All of those names that you called that were coming up behind, they saw that. They saw Mitch and Scotty and Mike Carey and all the rest of them be in training camp doing that. CJ Hines, Marvin Gray, they saw all of that. Magnum, like you mentioned. And they followed behind that and took it to the next level. So it is going to be incumbent on this next group that's watching Buddy, that's watching Eric, that's watching DA, those same under 17s that we mentioned and even younger than them, following behind in those same footsteps. How are they going to take it moving forward from here? We need money.
I mean, that's that money solves a lot of things. But I mean, like I say, the good thing is that we know our NBA guys are committed. Right?
Yeah.
And that's step one of just the brand of Bahamas basketball. When you have that commitment with them saying that they're going to play on national team, they're going to be a part of the program some way, somehow, that's the best step. And that's almost the most comfortable step. It's just like, and I always tell, like, we always know, it's like everyone loves Buddy, and then they look at Aiden, like, Aiden loves this country so much. Like, Aiden wants to play. He wanted us to be in the Olympics so bad. Like, he wanted to help carry this team to a point that they'd never been before. So we got to get back to that point so we can cross that mountaintop. But when that comes, Eric loves this country. Like, anyone who plays on that team, they know the bigger picture of playing. Yes, they might get contracts. They might get the hype.
They was getting contracts while they was there.
Exactly.
Like, they was doing their NBA business while they were there.
So it's like, everyone who plays on this team has a love for the country to be successful. Because remember, they ain't getting paid for this.
Nah.
You know what? Like, this is the thing. They're doing this for the love of the sport and the love of the country, knowing what the bigger picture is. So anytime you see one of these players, that whoever plays on the national team, I will go down to the staff. You could thank them.
Thank you, John.
You could not criticize so much because you're not in their shoes.
You can criticize, we just don't care. Like, we don't care.
I'm not going to care, but you need to think about the sacrifices that are being made.
They will never know.
No, I mean, they're never going to know, they're never going to care, but they still got to realize sacrifices are being made. Like, when I leave, when other people leave, they're leaving their job to a point. They're leaving their house. They're leaving their life that they're used to living to go do something completely different, to try to put a show on so that everyone could be talking about it. Everyone's going to be happy. Granted, this is the first time we've ever lost and no one's complained. I could say that. Like, we've had people come watch us in a stadium hoping we lose, and we end up winning. So it's just like, this is the first time. It's just like, okay, we made it this far, we lost, and no one is complaining.
Yeah. Okay, so to encapsulate this, to end it, I feel like I got to end where we started. You good, dog?
Yeah.
You right?
I mean,
this was more of a therapeutic session than a podcast. I feel like you needed to get some stuff out. It was a lot.
Look, like I was trying to say earlier, I started in 2016. That was DeAndre's first. And this is the crazy
Panama, right?
Yeah, Panama.
Yeah.
And we knew how big the DeAndre thing was. Buddy got drafted that year.
Yeah.
So we couldn't have Buddy because no one's going to miss their draft for
But it started to come together.
But it started to come together. Then Mario was the president and the coach at that time of the federation. And it's like, you could see the stepping stones are going. And like I said, you always have to give credit.
And we didn't even mention, we are remiss for this. We didn't even mention that so much changed once Chris DeMarco came on board.
Oh yeah, no.
Because God knows, for all the people that were complaining about Clay, and you see a lot of stupid takes on Bahamian social media about whatever's happening, and we cannot respond to all of it, or any of it, by the way, because it's just so stupid. And I'm glad Clay gave voice to it in his press conference with the Mavericks, because the work that he's done behind the scenes.
Oh yeah.
For nothing.
Yeah. No. It's
y'all got
that's
no
why I keep
idea.
Saying, you got to thank people for what they do, for regardless of how small you think it is or how big. Stuff doesn't happen without people behind the scenes.
Y'all think he didn't care and his brother was playing for this team for years?
Yeah, no. It's something where, like I say, you got to step back sometimes and see where the program has come from. Like, like I said, we went from playing. I wasn't on the BVI trip. We went from playing the BVI.
Just wanted to beat Walter Hodge, dog.
In a CBC, going to Central. Now we're playing Giannis and Vucevic, and we're playing in Olympic qualifiers against top European teams. We show that we belong. Like, that's the biggest thing. We've shown we belong. Now we just got to show that we're there. And that the day that we're there, I think the country will sink.
Well, wow, I wanted us to end on a happier note, but that'll do it for our therapy session or for this podcast. Keep going, Bahamas basketball. Just keep going.
DJ, you could.
Yes.